Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we are in 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 1 through chapter 23, verse 28. Then we go to 2 Chronicles, and it's chapter 33, verse 8 through verse 35, chapter 35, verse 19. A lot of times we talk about the 2 Chronicles story and the 2 Kings Chronicle story will pretty much mirror each other, but that's not the case here today. Um, there are quite a few similarities and differences. Second Chronicles is really cool because you know how I love to compare the Levites and their duties and responsibilities with law enforcement. Second Chronicles really talks a lot about the duties that King Josiah gave the Levites during this time. So if you haven't read it, I would really strongly suggest reading it. I'm not going to go through Second Chronicles today because the takeaway for me was in Second Kings. And again, it's a little bit different story. It has a lot more of this content I want to talk about than Second Chronicles does. It focuses more on the Levites and their responsibilities during Josiah's reign to bring all of God's rules and ordinance back in place and destroy all of the temples, the idols, all these terrible things that Manasseh and the bad kings of Judah had put up to worship in place of God. Josiah was a great king, came to be a king at a very young age, um, and let's get into it. Chapter 22, verse 11. Now Josiah is sitting on the throne. All the money that keeps coming into the temples, uh, the offerings and the tithes, all the gifts, he tells the Levites to get it and bring it in. And then when they get it, to just start paying people to come in and fix the house of the Lord because it's fallen into disrepair. People didn't care about it because they're worshiping other gods. But he and a group of leaders that were with him, he had great counsel. You could do a whole study on the counsel that he got. He had good godly counsel, but he he and the counselors, his administrative staff, decided to um, not rebuild, but to repair the temple and restore the worship of God. So while they're restoring the worship of God and redoing the temple, repairing it and whatnot, they find the book of the law. Now, this was most likely the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible that Moses wrote, which gave the laws: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And we've gone through those and we know all the law that is in that. So this priest brings us to Josiah and he reads it to him, and Josiah realizes that, man, what they're living in the moment and what they have been living in is nothing but sin, and God hates what they're doing as far as worshiping other gods, sacrificing their children to Molech and doing these things that are horrible. And he rips his clothes and he cries out. He's like, man, we have got to humble ourselves. We're in trouble. And it's almost like, they were living in it, but they didn't recognize it until somebody brought the law to them. It's like if you're driving down a road and there's no speed limit sign, so you're just doing like 75, 80 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you get stopped. Or let's say you don't get stopped. All of a sudden you see a sign coming at you, a speed limit sign that says 45. Well, up until that point, you didn't know you were breaking the law, but all of a sudden, man, you probably hit your brakes and you slow down. That's what they were on a highway that they didn't know the law. But all of a sudden, the law tends to shine light of truth into the area that you're in, and all of a sudden exposes these places of sin and darkness that you didn't know were there. That's what a light does. It shines light and it brings truth to an area. It lets you know what's there. Well, they see it, they recognize their need for repentance. The priest, and that's where Second Chronicles gets into. They bring in the Levites and Levites start taking care of all the work to get the temple prepared and to run out all these dirty, negative, evil, idol worshiping things, and they destroy all of it. But again, King Josiah's read this and he knows that God's wrath is upon him, that they're fixed to endure God's wrath because of all the sin. And so he humbles himself and he prays. Uh, Verse 11, when the king heard the words of the book of the law, he tore his clothes. Again, he humbled himself, and we've mentioned this. We brought this up in several of these stories. Humility, I can't say enough about humility. If you want to fight spiritual warfare, be a humble person, because your flesh wants you to be prideful and selfish, and that's all the flesh pulls you towards. Humility pulls you the opposite direction. If you will be a humble person, you will start winning the spiritual battles, and you'll start seeing and recognizing the difference in your life. And we see that with King Josiah here. God is so pleased by King Josiah's humility and his true repentance of his heart. It's not just for show, that God says, you know what? I'm not going to bring my wrath and this disaster on you. I'm going to let you live in peace because you've humbled yourself, and you're walking in the ways of the Lord. And yeah, I'll bring it on Judah, but I'm going to do it later. You've pleased me. Who says God's not fair? Beautiful story of humility, and how the effects of humility allow us to win these battles, these spiritual battles. It allows our spirit to win and drives the flesh out. We'll never, ever be done with the battles. Will be with us as long as we're in this carton. We're going to fight these battles every day, but we want to win every day. We want the spirit to win every day and beat the flesh every single day, and humility is how you do it. Man, one thing, Chronicles 34:33, it says, throughout his lifetime, they did not turn from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. Josiah was a great king, and he even ended well. Great read. So if you didn't read it, please go back and read. It's awesome. Tomorrow, bear with me. I'm not even going to, on the backslide, just pause it and write down all the things. It looks like a ton of reading, but they're really short snippets. We're going to read Nahum, the whole book, which is tiny. We're going to read 2 Kings chapter 23, but we're only going to read verses 29 through 37. We're going to go to 2 Chronicles, and we're going to read chapter 35, verse 20 through chapter 36, verse 5. Short amount of verses. Then we're going to go back to Jeremiah, and we're going to read chapter 22, verses 10 through 17. So come back here tomorrow. Let's get ready to talk about our law enforcement takeaway. And in the meantime, you guys be safe.